another edition of the Morning View. Yes, just like that, we are back. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. We are here. And folks, the transfer window has shut. The transfer window has now closed. And we've got to take stock. We've got to assess just how are we feeling? How are we feeling now that the window has shut? How are we feeling about what Manchester United has got at their disposal ahead of this Premier League season? We've seen significant incomings. We've seen significant outgoings. The former front three of Højlund, Garnacho, Rashford, all gone. In addition to the likes of Sancho, Antony, and others gone from Manchester United. Incoming, we have the likes of Benjamin Šeško. We have, of course, Brian Mbeumo. We have Matthias Cunha. And late last night was confirmed, we have Senne Lammens. Yes, get it right at the end. Lammens. Is that enough? How would you rate that window? Are you concerned about a lack of a midfield signing? Is that going to cost us? Does Ruben Amorim have any excuses not to get into Europe this season? Not Champions League, but just broad Europe. Or are we still behind several Premier League clubs? Is it still a bit too much to ask to get Europe? We're going to discuss it this morning, and I'm interested to know what you guys have to say. This is the Morning View. We are back. Yes, no more transfer views. I mean, I didn't even remember what the Morning View looked like. I'm going to be honest. I was talking to Flex and Josh about this yesterday. I was like, what does the Morning View look like? What do we have for that again? But yes, we're back for the Morning View. I can see already loads of people getting involved in the chat. So I think this is going to be a really fun show, a really interesting show. So get your thoughts in there. Get your super chats and your members chats in. Get involved in the chat. Marion's in there, says, morning, everyone. Segment says, I'm concerned. Junaid gives it a 6. Real Recognize Real says 7. Ramo says 4. Look, this is really, really interesting. And there's also a really interesting article written by Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic this morning, kind of detailing really everything that's happened in the last sort of 3 months when it comes to transfers at Manchester United. Some discussion about people that we were planning to go for, we didn't go for. An aborted attempt to re-sign Danny Welbeck. Yes, you heard it. Danny Welbeck, 35 in November. Danny Welbeck was at one point considered this summer. Emi Martinez, of course, not coming in. Senne Lammens confirmed last night. When life gives you lemons. Yeah. You saw United say that. Hey, they stole it. They stole it. So there's also stuff about Rasmus Højlund's exit and how he thinks he's better than Benjamin Šeško. We've got so much to discuss this morning, so it's going to be a really good show. Shout out, though, to Just Josh Media Graphics Guru Visual Ninja, because as you would have seen right at the top of the show, and it's a bit of a shorter intro as well. You know, those people in the comments, yeah, your intro's too long. We've got a new intro for the Morning View. I'm going to play it again because I think it deserves to be played again. This is the brand new intro for the Morning View. Well, welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. Nice, isn't it? Nice. That's how you're going to be starting every morning. So you're going to be starting every morning, weekdays, obviously. Maybe an occasional weekend. You never know. Depends on the circumstance. But every morning, Monday to Friday, yes, that's what it's going to be. The Morning View. We are back indeed. Right, we've got so much to discuss, and be sure to smash the like on the like button. We've got already close to 750 people watching. Let's see if we can get to a quick 150 likes. And as you can see right there in the top right-hand corner, less than 130 subscribers to go now until 205,000 on that road to 250,000. Let's talk about our brand new sign. Let's talk about Senne Lammens. I believe I'm doing the pronunciation correctly. Shout out to the guy that's on the video yesterday. We pinned it. He was Dutch, and he said that obviously in Belgium they speak Dutch, they speak French, they speak Flemish, and he was saying that he's Flemish. The name is Flemish, so it's Senne Lammens, I believe. Manchester United indeed confirmed the signing late last night. I say late last night. It's about 10 o'clock, wasn't it? About 10 o'clock last night. The deal was confirmed. Manchester United releasing the following statement saying Manchester United is pleased to confirm that Senne Lammens has joined the club, subject to international clearance and registration. The goalkeeper has signed a contract until June 2030. Of course, that's a 5-year contract. Lammens has already played 64 games for Royal Antwerp and helped them to win the Belgian Super Cup in 2023. The 23-year-old, who was named in the Belgium national team squad for the first time in March, kept the most clean sheets in the Belgian Pro League last season. Continues on with comments from Senne Lammens himself. He says, I'm extremely proud to be joining Manchester United. It is a real dream come true. The past few years have been an amazing journey. It's now ended in an incredible destination and hopefully the beginning of something special. You can feel the positive atmosphere that is being created here, and I know that I can make a real impact at the club in the coming years. I cannot wait to get to know my teammates and begin working with Ruben and the coaching staff. This is the perfect place to keep developing, grow together with this exciting team, and achieve my career objectives. We also got comments from Manchester United's director of football, Jason Wilcox, who said in a very short, actually, quote, Senne is an excellent young goalkeeper with great potential. We are delighted that he has chosen to join Manchester United after significant interest from a number of clubs. Now, what's actually quite interesting with Jason Wilcox's comments there, I was tuning in to Sky yesterday. Obviously, lots of people watching Sky and the deadline day coverage. I'll be live, by the way, on Sky Sports News around about 11 o'clock today in the morning. I'll be live on there to discuss Norwich. Now, of course, I'm going to be discussing Manchester United. And I'm sure the subject of goalkeepers will come up. And I saw Paul Merson. And I'm one of I know Paul Merson, people can go, that they don't like him. But I'm one of a few that I don't mind Paul Merson. I do find him quite entertaining. But there was this suggestion that this was a bizarre signing by Manchester United. This is bizarre. This is a bizarre signing. And a lot of people that don't like Man United were very much on their soapbox yesterday, going, "No, I don't. Well, no one's going after. No one's going after this goalkeeper. Never heard of him, Jeff. I've never heard of him. So how can he be that good? You've got two goalkeepers on the market in Gigi Donnarumma and Emi Martinez, and Manchester United aren't going after them. This is madness. This is part of the problem. This is why they're in the position they are, because they're so badly run." And you have to sort of go,
no, wait a minute. Wait.
That's not true. I mean, where do you begin with that one? Where do you begin with that? First of all, to suggest that nobody else was interested in Senne Lammens is just not even factually accurate, isn't it? Because if you read the reports, if you've seen the pursuit of him over the last, month or so, Manchester City were interested. Was it Galatasaray? I think were interested. If we'd gone for Emi Martinez, he was interested. They were interested, rather, in getting Senne Lammens. So already then I'm going three clubs, as Jason Wilcox is alluding to there. There were lots of clubs that were interested in getting him. On top of that, if Manchester United have agreed personal terms with him, like they did, like a month ago, and he's only decided, I want to go to Manchester United, in the similar vein to how Brian Mbeumo goes, I want to only go to Manchester United, then other clubs stop going in for him because they realise it's a non-starter. In the same way that Newcastle tried to go after Brian Mbeumo, or Chelsea tried to go after Brian Mbeumo, and he goes, well, I'm going to Man United. I'm not going anywhere else. All right. Non-starter. Bit like Garnacho. Well, Bayern are interested. No. Napoli, no. Chelsea, that's it. So that's not really true, is it? So there's that. Let's also look at the real sort of circumstances of those other two goalkeepers that you mentioned. When it comes to Gigi Donnarumma, hey, I was on this channel going, if we can get Donnarumma, bloody hell, you go and get him. I mean, he's still, when you're talking about the best goalkeepers in the world, I think Donnarumma, you talk about it, he's going to be a very good signing, I think, for Manchester City. I think they've got bigger problems than the goalkeeping position. I know Trafford's been a bit, like that, but I think they've got bigger issues, Manchester City. But he's a fantastic goalkeeper. If Manchester United could make that deal work, then I think they would have at least pursued it. But with Donnarumma, it was always going to be a really expensive deal, wasn't it? Look at how much we've paid for Senne Lammens, right? I think that speaks volumes, doesn't it? £18 million plus £3 million in add-ons, total package of £21 million for a goalkeeper. And he's hardly going to be coming in on, he's coming in on 100k a week, Lammens, or he's going to be coming in on 300k a week. Yeah. Donnarumma, different kettle of fish. 1 year left at PSG. Granted, they forced him out, told him you have to go. But Donnarumma's not coming in for 100k, is he? He's not. And I think his contract was big at PSG anyway, let alone what it would be now at Manchester City. I don't even know what it would be at Manchester City. Does anyone know in the chat how much how much it's been reported that he's on or anything like that? If it was United, I guarantee we'd know. That would be headline news, how much Gigi Donnarumma would be on. And then with this Emi Martinez situation, I do feel a little bit bad for Emi Martinez because he has kind of ostracized himself from that whole Aston Villa situation. Now, I know this morning Fabrizio has said Aston Villa are happy to continue with Emi Martinez. There's no exit. The Manchester United deal didn't happen. There were reports yesterday saying Martinez basically was waiting at the Aston Villa training ground for a call that never came. And there was legitimate conversations earlier in the window, and there was conversations between United and Aston Villa, as James said last night on the red carpet. I think that the suggestion kind of was, well, if James Sancho wanted to go to Aston Villa on a permanent, then maybe that would have freed up enough to, again, financially make the Emi Martinez deal make sense for United, but they couldn't make that work. So just to say that, oh yeah, Man United, they're just doing this out of the stupidness. Well, no, there's much more reason. There's much more reason involved there. And if the Senne Lammens one does work out, guys, I mean, we could be saying about how much of a bargain this is. We could find ourselves in a situation in 6 months' time or 12 months' time and go, we paid 18 million for him, and he's really, really good. Or we paid 18 million for him, and actually he's not bad. That's pretty good. And as PJ says there, Donnarumma wants Champions League. We also have to remember where we're at. We finished 15th last season, 15th in the Premier League. If anything, it is a testament to the size of Manchester United, isn't it? That we can finish 15th and then go and spend over £200 million in the next transfer window. And I know that Ruben Amorim probably hasn't got every position that he wanted and hasn't got every player that he wanted in this transfer window. But I don't think an argument can be made of, this manager hasn't been backed by the powers that be at Manchester United, or Ruben Amorim, he's been let down. I've seen some people try to suggest that, or Ruben Amorim's been let down in this transfer window. And you go, come on. What we saying here? This isn't Football Manager. This isn't, as KG would say, FIFA. It's not. You go get 2 new 10s, a striker, a goalkeeper. Hey, I think, call me crazy here, but I think we should be expected to do better than 15th, right? Right? We should do better to be 15th. And I've also seen, this is the maddest one. I've also seen some suggestion, and get ready for the brown envelopes accusation, even though, what was it, last week when we're criticizing Manchester United, you just hate the club, and now it's brown envelope time. I've seen some suggestion that Ineos are worse than the Glazers. What kind of psychosis are we living in here? Ineos are worse than the Glazers. We've spent over £200 million in this transfer window. We have brought in players that people wanted in the club. I mean, we're talking again, Mbumo, Cunha, Shesko have been tracking for years, right? We've addressed key positions. There's a brand new training ground that was paid out of pocket by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. The reason that we can't go out and spend huge amounts and attract, super big players or what have you, and the reason that we sort of struggle to sell some players until the final day of the transfer window is because of the previous regime that was implemented by the Glazers of, Woodward, of Murto, of Richard Arnold. Now, they're not perfect, obviously, and I've criticized them over the last 12 months because they've made several high-profile errors. They're all there to be seen, but the sort of narrative that if anything, they're worse than the Glazers. Like, what? What? So yeah, and then was pointed out last night on the red carpet, when you look at the exits that happened in the end, I mean, I didn't really get a chance to sort of discuss this on last night on the red carpet. A lot of everyone else, or most of us, gave their ratings for the window, and if I was to rate the window, I would probably give it I'd probably give it between a 6 and a 7. I'd probably give it between a 6 and a 7. For a variety of different reasons. I think I am pleased with the incomings. I think that Bryan Mbeumo's already showing immediate impact. Matheus Cunha has had some promising performances. Šeško, it's now becoming very, very obvious, actually, that Benjamin Šeško is just really, really rusty and not ready at this point. I mean, when you're so tired, you can't take a penalty, and he hasn't started the first 3 Premier League games, and when he's come on, he hasn't maybe looked as sharp. So, but I do have somewhat faith in him. We'll see what happens with Šeško. Hopefully, we start playing to him. I'm really happy that we have signed a goalkeeper, because we couldn't go on with a season without getting one. So I am happy with the signings. The outgoings, I would have liked some of the fees to be higher. I've mentioned before that 40 million fixed for Garnacho. In an ideal world, we'd be selling him for similar prices to people like Noni Madueke. Madueke's gone for like 50 plus million. If you look at the market, there are players that, in my opinion, aren't as good as Garnacho or as equal quality as Garnacho and have gone for more. But we made a rod for our own back there with how that whole, when he was told publicly to leave and he only wanted to go to Chelsea, we kind of limited our options on that one. And then obviously with some of the deals happening later on the window, but again, that's how the sort of the market went. And also, when you do ostracize the players like that, you do have your price come down, but you make sure that they leave, which again is a positive. Are there positions that I would have liked to have addressed? Yes, obviously, we would have liked to have got a midfielder. I think there's been confusion about the Carlos Baleba thing, surely there was £100 million to spend there because they were going to get Baleba. Well, that was going to be next summer's money. That was going to be next summer's money for Carlos Baleba. So I would give it between a 6 and a 7. I would go between a 6 and a 7, which for Manchester United, right? For Manchester United, that is big. You know what I mean? That is actually quite significant, because Man United having like a 7 out of 10 window, if you wanted to give it that, we don't have those that often. We don't. The bar is very, very low. So I don't know if we were ever going to have a 10 out of 10 transfer window. Out of teams in the Premier League, who would you say had 10? You probably would go of like a Liverpool, right? Probably would go of a Liverpool that's had a 10 out of 10 window. So I don't think it's the worst window. After finishing 15th, I'll take, again, still a 7 feels maybe a bit too much. 6, between a 6 and a 7, 6.5, something along that. So but I'm content with the window. I think Manchester United, there is no, for me anyway, there's no excuse to be, definitely not 15th. Even if we were mid-table fodder, I'd be like, you can do more. You can do more with that. You can do more with that. So, yeah, and I certainly don't think you can have the situation of Ruben Amorim. He hasn't been backed. He hasn't been backed. I think it's an overall good window for Manchester United. First super chat, Amanor says, Owen, WTF are we going to do with 4 goalkeepers, tension, etc.? I don't really care, to be honest. Like if they can leave if they don't like it, because it won't be any loss to us. If Andre Onana's like, I'm being so disrespected that I'm not playing, then go. You've still got time. There's a Turkish window. There's the Saudi window. That might even be part of the plan, to be honest, is to kind of nudge them in that direction. Thanks for the Mbeumo stuff. We really appreciate that. But kind of got to go now, to be honest. So if you could. I think that might be part of the thing there. But who cares? Who cares? I'm happy with the goalkeeping signing, and on top of that as well, I was, as I said yesterday when we got the here we go on Senne Lammens. If Lammens comes in and he is not even average, if Lammens comes in and he is mediocre, like, I'm not even joking. If he is mediocre, he is still better than what we've got. I don't think it can be stressed enough how poor our goalkeeping situation is, or the sheer lack of quality we have in that department. Andre Onana, he was like the distribution keeper. He can't even do that anymore. He can't even do that. Andre, in the space of Andre Onana's tenure at Manchester United, this is his 3rd season, Bayindir has got better at distribution now. And Bayindir, when he played against Arsenal in the Cup, when he had his penalty heroics, that we were saying that day, well, his kicking's a bit ropey. Last few games, his kicking's actually been okay. Like, Onana can't even do that. Against Grimsby, he was just kicking it out for throw-ins. Onana, he couldn't even do the distro anymore. He's not even the distro, let alone the shot stopping or what have you. He can't even do that. And Bayindir at this point is legitimately the number 1 ahead of Onana. So Onana's done. Bayindir's he's not great. Like, he isn't great. I do think, again, to his credit, he has actually improved in his distribution. I think that is fair. A couple of times against Arsenal, a couple of them, I will say that they were like, "Oh, that was an amazing pass," and I was like, I don't know if that was a bit of luck. But in the last game against Burnley, legitimately, there were some good passes, and he did the long pass up the pitch for Cunha against Fulham, didn't he? So I think his distribution has actually got better. So I'll give him credit for that. And in terms of shot stopping, yeah, he's not amazing. He still does the Onana parry out into the, who was around him. But he is, as a backup, that wouldn't play that much. You go, all right, fair, all right, fine. He can't field a cross. I think he's too weak to play in the Premier League and the physicality that comes with it. And I think he's an easy target now when it comes to set pieces. So if Lammens can come in, and it would appear he can, if he can catch a cross, if he's not going to get bullied at set pieces, and his shot stopping's okay, then he'll be number 1. I've spoken about this ad nauseum here, that for a young keeper, this is an opportunity for a young keeper that will probably, it shouldn't come along like that often. I mean, he is so fortunate, Lammens. Think about it. At this stage of his career, he's had like 1 full season playing in the Belgium League. More often than not, if you got a move to a top 6 side in the Prem, after that period of time, it would be to be a backup goalkeeper to be playing in 2 or 3 years. He can solidify himself as the number 1 Manchester United goalkeeper by just being average, just being okay. Like, that is such a wild situation. That is such a wild scenario. And Johnny is talking there in the chat about Vitek. Even if I was Vitek, I know he's playing every single week at Bristol City. If I was him, I even, if anything, would be a little bit annoyed, because I'd be like, if I was in and around it at the moment, I could get in there. I could maybe play. So it's a massive opportunity for him. I did see. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, this was on Rio's video yesterday. Rio Ferdinand, he's got the big phone book, hasn't he? He got a voice note from Courtois. Yeah, Rio's got the connections. He got a voice note from Courtois about how good Senne Lammens is. Here you go. Let's get this up on the screen for you guys. If I suppose if you're one of those people that gets excited by these kind of things, then you might enjoy this with what was said. There you go. The watch call it and the thingy. This is what Rio got a voice note from Courtois.
That voice note was Thibaut Courtois, by the way. Just let me know about Lammens, because he's a Belgian Belgian player, isn't he? So he's just giving me the heads up as to what he's like. He said he's a huge talent, obviously not experienced yet, but he said he thinks his style will be suited to the Premier League, big as well. That recommendation from probably one of the best 3 goalkeepers in the world, Thibaut Courtois, I'm taking that. I keep seeing people talk about the talent and whatnot, but the problem is, can Man United afford to wait for talent to develop?
That is the concern, isn't it? That is the concern. Imagine being able, though, just to be like, that voice note is from Courtois. Ugh, you know what I mean? And also, if it was a bad voice note, you wouldn't say it, would you? That voice note was from Courtois. He's shit. You wouldn't get that one, would you? That probably not. Probably not. But he continues.
This point in time, that's the point. That's the question.
Don't feel like it, does it?
No.
And that's what made me think that the Emi Martinez stuff might not have been as accurate. We were clearly in for him. But he's not in that Ineos profile of age and all the rest of it that they say they're trying to sign, is it?
Yeah, but you see, like goalkeepers, I think you treat goalkeepers separate. I don't even treat goalkeepers like footballers nowadays. I treat them as separate beings, really, because we got Edwin van der Sar at 34.
Exactly, we're separate beings, Rio. Yeah, we're separate beings. Kind of magic. That's what it's like being a goalkeeper, really. So, you know, just kind of. You know what I mean? Just kind of different goalkeeper, different beings, separate beings. That's what it's like being a goalkeeper. Exactly. So we watching other channels on another channel now. Hey, it's all love. Yeah, it's not. There's the idea that the people that make or in the same field of content are rivals is bullshit, isn't it? I mean, Rio's been on the channel before. Howson's been in when we've done vlogs or whatever in the States, particularly when we do tour stuff. We're always collaborating. Collaboration is king, my friend. There's no beef. My goodness. So yes, that is the latest when it comes to the Lammens deal. And exactly, yeah, Flex has been on that channel. Yes, that's the latest when it comes to Lammens. Happy with the goalkeeping situation. Like, we've got a keeper in because it looked like for a while, didn't it? It looked like for a while that we weren't going to get one. And that was really concerning. When we had like a couple of weeks left of the window and there was that, Man United, they're not really looking for a goalkeeper, and the situation could be as is. And even yesterday, they were sort of trying to sort of suggest, well, maybe they don't get a goalkeeper. Maybe it's just Onana. Maybe it's just Bayindir. Maybe that's just what it's always going to be, right? That's it. That's just no. We need a goalkeeper. Need a goalkeeper. Absolutely, 100%. Now, in terms of the midfield situation, this is I think quite interesting. Obviously, yesterday we had lots of deadline day exits. As I said, we had Garnacho. That was done a few days before. We had Højlund. We had Sancho go. Anthony was announced yesterday as well. So we got the exits out the door in the end. I think everyone's just going to be turning to midfielders, aren't they? Everyone's going to be saying, midfielders, is that going to cost us this season? And I suppose that the answer to that is, cost us what? Are we going to lose games because we didn't make that midfield signing? Probably. Let's be honest, probably. We probably will lose. Certain games we'll be looking towards that midfield and being like, I tell you what, if we'd have had, I don't know, Carlos Baleba today, we would have won that one. Or if we'd had, I don't know, an Adam Wharton, we would have won that one. But I think that's a very dangerous path to go down, because if we're going down, if we had player X playing today, we would have won. We can do that for anything, can't we? We can do that if we had, I tell you what, if we had Kylian Mbappe today, we would have won that game. If we had an Erling Haaland, we would have won that game today. If we had the 99 team, today, we would have won that game, right? How far does it go? How far does it go? I think there's two ways of looking at it, obviously, isn't there? There's one way of looking at it of going, it is going to hurt us this season. We're not a complete team. We're not competing for the title anyway. I mean, that's not going to be any great shakes. Could it be the difference between us qualifying for, say, like the Champions League and not the Champions? Maybe. We'll see how the season goes, right? We'll see how the season goes with that. I think it is worth pointing out, like James mentioned last night in the red carpet, I think Man United will be more active in the January, or as Robbie would say, the January window than we would be normally, because we have greater flexibility now because of those exits. Yes, we signed Senne Lammens yesterday for 18 odd million, but we also did have a lot of exits, and we have sold actually quite well in this transfer window. And we've saved actually quite a bit of money. And that means that when it comes to January, we're not just going to be looking at, we're going to have to scrape the money together and go, we can only really get sort of a 20 million for a Patrick Dorgu, which actually has turned out to be an all right signing. But that's all we can do. Hopefully, because as I always say with these transfer windows, there is a select pool of players available. We know going in, we went into this summer window, everyone knew the pool of players that were available. This summer, you're going to see Gyökeres move. You're going to see Šeško move. You're probably going to see Isak move. What other players did we know are definitely going to move? Florian Wirtz, he's going to move in this summer. We know that. Eze, he's going to move in this window. Everyone going into a transfer window knows players that are going to be moving. And it's the same for January, is that there will be a select pool of players, maybe players we don't even know about at the moment, but for whatever reason, either they're playing really well, or they're having a fallout, or something's happening at the club. This pool of players is available. You go, tell you what, we can go get him. And in and around that time, there's still a lot of football to be played in the winter transfer window. And if Manchester United can actually participate in that window and make one or two signings, as we've proved ourselves in the past with the signing of Bruno Fernandes back in 2020. I mean, it didn't look like we were going to qualify for the Champions League that season. We signed Bruno, and it's a game changer. I know a little thing called the pandemic happened around that point, and football got delayed, and the world shut down for a while. But even after, once the football restarted, Bruno Fernandes' influence on that team was really a difference maker for us getting Champions League that season. So you can make that big signing in that window, and that can change a season completely, right? In addition to that, obviously, AFCON is going to be going on over the winter. So at that point, players are going to be away, and then clubs will start to panic, and they'll go, we're going to have 2 or 3 big players away. We need to bring someone in at that point. And all the players coming back from AFCON will be like, well, they've picked up an injury. They're tired. There are so many things that can happen. So I think us being able to participate in that window, I think is going to be quite significant for our season. So that's when the exits yesterday are really positive. And who's to say at that point, maybe the Carlos Baleba deal becomes a bit more financially viable. Maybe Brighton do concede at that point. Yeah, we were going to let them go at the end of the season. Our season's, already kind of petering out or not really doing that much. Yeah, okay, well, let's have a talk now. Let's figure out a deal. Or maybe, yesterday was a madness with Crystal Palace, wasn't it? With obviously the Mark Gahey stuff and Oliver Glasner blocking that move effectively by saying, look, if he goes and we don't get replacement, I'm walking. The Mark Gahey Palace, exit video even got leaked to Twitter. It's that whole situation is mental. As a United fan, I'm sitting here pissing myself. But it was a mad situation. So who knows what's going to happen with Palace over the next 3 months anyway. Maybe they might find themselves in a difficult situation where it's all kind of blown up and they go, oh, yeah, let's cash in on Gahey and Wharton or what have you in January. That could be a situation. So there's still a lot of different things that can happen. And if United are able to be able to pounce on those situations, that is a positive. So I think to say that we won't go through the whole season and get a midfielder, we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. But there will be games inevitably where we say that midfield, that's hurting us. Because it looks like Amorim's first choice midfield partnership is Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. In 2025, that's not great. Casemiro, obviously, far past his prime, but in that role, in that 6-ish role, he's still kind of the best we've got because we signed Ugarte for was it close to 50 million, around sort of 40 odd million last year. And it's kind of already been sort of figured out that, yeah, he's not really the one, is he? He's good at what he does in terms of comes on doing tackles, but he can't pass for shit. So it's kind of Cass in that role. Then Bruno in the 8, jury's still out on how good he is in that role versus in the 10, but he's not going to play as a 10. Ruben likes him in that position. And I think there's a really good argument to be said that both of those players that I mentioned, our first choice midfield, or Amorim's first choice midfield in Bruno and Casemiro, there's a real high possibility that not just one, but both won't be there at the beginning of next season. Casemiro, we know, won't be there. His contract's coming up, and Man United aren't going to renew. And Casemiro, for the last 2 seasons, has effectively been running down his contract. He has had opportunities and offers to leave, but he's kind of like, look, I'm the highest paid player at the club. Casemiro is the highest paid player at the club. What's he on? Like 325,000? Was it 350? Ridiculous amount of money he's on for a player that's past 30, past his prime, past his best. And we spent like 70 odd million. That's by the way, that's the kind of signings people wanted us to do. Yeah, like yesterday, those that were criticizing Ineos and saying, oh, they're rubbish, whatever. The Glazers in the past, they would have signed a Casemiro late on. They would have overpaid, but they would have got him. Are you taking the piss? Several years later, we're saying that we can't get rid of Casemiro because we spent so much money getting him late on. And we want to do that again. What kind of, you've got to stop doing the same mistakes eventually, right? So, when it comes to Casemiro, he's going to be leaving next summer, which, of course, will save a lot of money on. Bruno, the more that I think about it and the more that time is going on, I'm really starting to feel that this is going to be Bruno's last season. I'm really starting to feel that it's going to be Bruno's last one. Last 2 summers, it's been links to Saudi, and last summer it was deemed not the right time. Ineos are just coming in. It's first full summer of Ineos, new structure coming in. They just backed Eric, and not the right time. Not the right time. I'm the captain. Not the right time yet. Signs a new contract. This summer, it was even closer. Look, you can go if you want to. We'd like for you to stay, but if you decide that you want to go and that's best for you, we're not going to stand in your way. I'm settled here. World Cups next summer. Don't really want to. I'll get picked for the squad regardless, but I don't really want to uproot my family. And it's going to be Ruben's first full season. I'll stick for another year. I'll stick for another year. But I think Saudi come back in for him next summer. I think this could be the last season of Bruno at United. And I think Man United might move it I don't think we'll get 100 million for him next summer. I don't. But I still think we'll get a significant amount of money. And I think it'll be Bruno and Casemiro go next summer. And then you get in a brand new midfield, which is maybe Baleba, maybe in addition to Adam Wharton, maybe someone we're not even thinking about at this period of time. But I think in the same vein of that old front 3, Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, out, Šeško and Bumo Cunha moved in. I think you have Casemiro, Bruno out, and then 2 new midfielders, maybe Baleba, Wharton in. I think they literally do the bit by bit kind of surgery on the team. I think that's going to be the intention for next summer. And then maybe, like I said, if something comes up in January, maybe they look at it then, and they have the possibility to do that as well. But that's my prediction. It's an early one. Red Baron with the super chat says Lammens is definitely not playing the next couple of games. Well, that is an interesting one too, isn't it, Red Baron? Because with all the talk about Lammens and what have you, the question is, does he go in? The problem that Man United have is the games, the actual fixtures that we have. If the first game back after the international break was, I don't know, Sunderland at home, or they've actually done all right. But you know what I mean? A sort of newly promoted side at home, perhaps, or a team that didn't do great last season at home, then you would go, Lammens in at that point. That's a bit easier for him. But Manchester derby, do you debut your 23-year-old goalkeeper in the Manchester derby when you're openly discussing that. Look, he's young and he's only played one season of football, and we want to make sure we don't sort of ruin his confidence for the rest of the season. I mean, would United put him in at the Etihad as well? Super Sunday, 4:30. Here you go. But like we said earlier on, at the same time, in that game, even if he was a bit dodgy, he'd still probably be better than what we've got. But it's also City. Would Manchester City, in terms of, I'm just thinking like in terms of Bayern, are they going to put high balls into the box? Are they going to make it difficult from corners? They've got some big players. Obviously, they've got the likes of Ruben Dias and John Stones and Rodri. Reinders is tall. So obviously Haaland. What do you guys think in the chat about that one? Does Senne Lammens start against Manchester City in the Manchester derby at the Etihad, his debut? That is difficult. Yes or no in the chat. That is a tough one. I just lean towards no. I lean towards he probably doesn't. I would like it if he did. But I lean towards probably not. But then a week later, does he start against Chelsea? When is the right time? That's the problem is when is the right time, is it? Because you've got City, difficult game. Chelsea at home, difficult game. Brentford away, historically for us, has been a difficult game. Then, if you're going, right, he'll make his debut against Sunderland at home on the 4th of October. We then have an international break. First game out of that international break, Liverpool at Anfield. Oh, he's played one game, so he can play at Anfield now, So I suppose you're kind of just like, well, fucking put him in, right? When is the right time to do it? There almost isn't a right time, is it? I'm not sure. No chance in hell. Lilio says I would. So it's a mixture. It very much is a mixture. Oliver Wittaloba says yes. V says yes. Yes, it's a mixture. There is a big mixture. Ewan says sink or swim, throw him in, but Amarin won't. V says the derby is not a good time for such a young guy. Javid says no. I mean, we say such a young guy, he's actually 23, which in goalkeeping years, in football terms, is young, but in terms of actual like football, But I think, has he been called up to the Belgian international squad? I mean, again, he doesn't play. Obviously, that he has never made a senior appearance for Belgium, but that's because, you've got Courtois in goal, which is, a bit different, isn't it? Let's have a look at the Belgium squad. Here you go, with the watch call it and the thingy. So he hasn't been called up to the senior squad anyway. I don't know if he's with like their under 23s or whatever, but he's not in the Belgium squad. They've got Courtois, Penders, Sels, and Van der Voort in goal as their goalkeepers. So hopefully, if he's got 2 weeks of training, maybe that might be something. Red Baron also says he means goalkeepers are sociopaths, Owen. I plead the fifth. Uncle also says Leacher DM. He's played there before. Left centre back is covered. The problem is with that, Uncle, is we're complaining about mobility. We're complaining about mobility with people like Casemiro and others. We're saying, they can't get around that much, struggles to get around. I remember saying before, we can play Leacher at left back. And then we saw him play at left back and he struggled to move. Even initially, he started to get, when he was playing left centre back, he struggled a little bit for left centre back. You remember that? And then he started to adapt a bit late on. I just worry Leacher post, knee injury. You have to remember as well, he did, was it ACL? He's coming back from that to then be like, right, you're going to be our 6. And we want you to get around a lot. And we want you to be winning tackles and be mobile. I worry. We don't really know what Martinez we're getting back, unfortunately, do we? That's part of the problem too. So for having to have him come back and then be like, all right, you're going to be playing midfield, I'm not sure. Sometimes those ideas are good in concept only, and then when you actually see them happen, you go, ugh. He has played there before, I'm with you, but it was a while ago, and he has had significant injury since then. He's older. I don't know. I'd worry for him, Jeff. I'd worry for him, Jeff. Really. I don't think he'd be right for that. Jake says, morning, Owen. Please tell me you are as frustrated not getting Martinez as me. Is it as simple as Ineos looking for salon value and that's it? Do you know what? The goalkeeping situation yesterday, Jake. It really, well, over the last few days, it really did divide people. Obviously, you had, like, for instance, Flex was really big on getting Emi Martinez. I was leaning towards Martinez because I did think the sort of criticism of him of he's just another Onana. I thought that was a bit overblown, and we always argue amongst ourselves, don't we, about why we should and shouldn't get players in. We made strong arguments for everyone to sign Baleba, to not sign Baleba, to sign Gyökeres, to not sign Gyökeres, to sign Šeško, to not sign Šeško. We did it for all, right? I think that it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, to be fair, Howson kind of mentions it in that clip we played earlier on, and I didn't really get the idea that we'd be negotiating with Antwerp and they'd say, we've changed our minds. We want you to get spend 25 million euro on Lammens. And we go, 25 million euro, that's a piss take. We're going to go to Aston Villa and pay 30, allegedly 40. I don't think it would have been 40, but, a higher fee, and also be on higher wages. That just never made that much sense to me. So I don't know about that. I do think there is a bit of I think there's wiggle room in it as well, that if Lammens comes in and he's not bad, but he's just okay, then I do think it allows Man United to be like, right, next or January or next summer, we can once again look at getting a more established, higher profile goalkeeper, and Bayindir and Onana can be moved on. I think this is a case of, this is what we can do kind of for now. This is what we can afford for now. This is what we could do for now. And if he does do really, really well, Lammens, then you've got a goalkeeper for the next 10 or 15 years, right? Because goalkeepers can last for a really long time. So I think it's a case of getting someone in that can improve us now, help us now, because anyone can. He's highly touted anyway, and he might actually be really, really good, and we don't have to get a goalkeeper, or he might just be okay, and we can get a higher profile goalkeeper too. One thing's for certain, we could not carry on with Bayindir and Onana for the rest of the season, or even till January. We just couldn't do that. We couldn't afford it, as we've seen in the first few weeks of the season. Unfortunately, this is how bad we are at times. Goalkeeping errors can cost us matches against the likes of Grimsby. They shouldn't, and it's bigger than that, but that's where we're at. If we don't have a goalkeeping mistake against Arsenal, it's probably a 0-0. And we go, actually, you know what? It's not too bad. We're having goalkeeping errors near enough every game. Was it the second one against Burnley, which is another set piece? Bayindir, shot bounces off him, and him and Cobby get tangled up. And you go, could do better. So we're conceding these sort of, I think it was something, there was a stat, wasn't there, that Man United have had the most sort of goalkeeping errors leading to shots or goals out of anyone in the league, I think, since Onana signed, I think, or it might have just been last season. It was like that. It's happening way too frequently. So if we can get a goalkeeper that just doesn't make as many errors, you would think we should be picking up more points. So that's the part of it. The only issue is young players coming in that aren't really like flourishing at United, and the environment's really difficult for them to succeed. And arguably the most difficult goalkeeping position in club football is probably the Manchester United goalkeeping position. Look at the scrutiny. It's made many a good goalkeeper struggle. Even your average goalkeepers. Look at Dubravka at the weekend. He didn't play a lot for us, but I remember when he did play for us, we were like, he's shit. He's not that good. Last season at Newcastle, he was doing well. At the weekend against Burnley, he was in unbelievable form, wasn't he? But when you put on that Manchester United goalie shirt, you're playing in the home kit, and you're playing at Old Trafford between the sticks. Yeah, it's if anything, it's just about like it can make people look really, really poor and make them look very, very foolish, can't it? And that's why you worry about a 23-year-old. And that's why I did like the idea of Emi Martinez of like, well, he's got a bit about him confidence-wise, but then so is Onana, doesn't he? Onana's a very confident guy. If only Andre Onana had the quality to back up his confidence, but he doesn't. He really, really doesn't. So, but I'm just happy to get someone in. As I've mentioned many a time on these morning shows over the last however many months, they're out there. The goalkeepers, they are out there. Not even necessarily top quality, best in the world. An average goalkeeper, just steady, safe pair of hands for a season or two. They are out there. And here's hoping that we've got that. And then look, and then here's hoping that if we had a track record, of being able to unearth gems and find the right people, and we trusted the scouting department, we'd be like, it doesn't matter. Look at you watch. This is going to be a brilliant signing. If let's say Brighton had signed Senne Lammens for £18 million, we'd be like, he is going to be brilliant. We wouldn't even doubt it, would we? We wouldn't even have this conversation of, oh, is it going to work out? Is it going to work out? We'd be like, Brighton don't get it wrong. Brighton don't get it wrong. That he's going to be incredible. Unfortunately, we don't have that track record. We have the track record of people coming to United and more often than not the crap. So here's hoping. There were stats that he made the most. He had most clean sheets in the Belgian league last season. He had most saves in Europe, highest save percentage in Europe. He had very high percentage of claiming crosses. But then I'm sure there are other negative stats. I mean, that's the problem with stats, right? So we shall see. Where we at in terms of likes? We still got close to 1,400 people watching, which is fantastic. Really appreciate everyone for all of the chat this morning. We're 4 likes away, actually, from 500 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View if you are new. You can see in the top right-hand corner there, we are less than 120 subscribers away from 205K on that road to 250K, aka quarter of a million. I'm caught up with super chats. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. As all Leak says there, likes. Apparently, Lammens has a higher rate than average of parrying shots back into danger. He's young and can correct it. This is what I mean about the stats, isn't it? Who knows? It goes back to the eye test, isn't it? And someone can have the best stats and still look shaky. Look at James Trafford. James Trafford in the Championship last season. He was, verge of records, and the amount of clean sheets they had in a row. And everyone's going, bloody hell, they had the whole thing, didn't they, of clean sheets, and were the minority owner of Burnley. I forget, it was the NFL player, wasn't he? I think. As come out of retirement. Was he an NFL player or was he a baseball player? I think an NFL player. He was like, I'll come out of retirement if you get these amount of clean sheets for the rest of the season. And he nearly did it. And then now comes into Manchester City. He's looking shaky. That's in the Championship versus the Prem. It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? So it just depends. Jake says, what's your gut feel? Do you think Amram can turn it around? I'm hoping the Cunha Mount injuries kind of forces Amram to play Bruno back in the 10. Well, this is JJ Watt. Thank you. Court Star. Yeah. Someone, I was actually James from Muppeteers. We were saying this on social media or after the game on Saturday, and it was, do you think he went? Do you think we overreacted to the Grimsby defeat? And I still say no. I think Saturday did prove a lesson that what changes narratives, what turns things around, results, wins. That's hardly a revelation. It's what I've mentioned many a time. It's about winning. And I think Ruben got a slice of luck at the weekend, and I do think he has deserved it. That obviously we were missing so many chances in that game. Should have been dead and buried. Got the penalty, which was a penalty, but you make your own luck in that regard, and we deserve to win that game. And then other results of other sort of top teams at the weekend, they dropped points, which I don't think many people expected. Spurs lost, City lost, Forest lost, and then suddenly that makes your win look even better, doesn't it? So I think that goes to show. I still don't say we overreacted to losing to fourth tier Grimsby. I mean, that had never happened in our history. We have never been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by a fourth tier side. The reaction, I think, was more than justified because a result like that, particularly after what happened last season, is entirely justified. And Ruben was hinting and suggesting stuff himself in the post-match interview, wasn't he? So I don't think that's an overreaction. I would love, and I really hope that the next 3 or 4 games we go, you know what? It was rough, and maybe I went a bit too soon there on that one, but we beat City and we beat Chelsea, or we got good results there, and that's not too bad going. But let's be honest, and we can be honest amongst ourselves here, can't we? We're still like a defeat or 2 away from another crisis and another meltdown. We're not that far off it. And as we saw at the weekend, things can shift and turn very, very quickly. And why? Because of results. If we win and, like I said, against City, and next thing you know, look how far ahead of City we are, and crisis is on them and this, that, and the other. But if City just shrug it off and they beat us, and then the other teams that drop points, like Spurs and Forest, they win, suddenly it's back to where it was at before, and it's like, Man United, we're screwed again. So it's still very, 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 very fine. I just hope that we can put the ball at the back of the net. We have put the ball at the back of the net. And again, that Grimsby game, if I was Ruben Amorim after that Grimsby game, I'd have offered my resignation, because it was just, the whole thing was disgraceful. Like, the whole circumstance was disgraceful. It's fourth tier of Grimsby. The next game they lost to Bristol Rovers, whatever it was, right? So yeah, it's like there's no victory after the fact will ever be able to justify that defeat. Even if we won our next 4, it'd be like, well, actually that Grimsby game, no, we go on to win the league, it would still be like that Grimsby game was still disgraceful. It will always be a stain, because you've set new lows. But the only thing you can try and do is try and make amends for it, I suppose. And that's hopefully what the Manchester United team and squad will do. So hopefully that answered your question, Jake. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, as I mentioned. It's Tuesday. That means Flex and KG show coming up for you live at 7 p.m. this evening. So be sure to join the crew for that one. Like I said, a reminder, I'm going to be live on Sky in just under an hour's time. I'm going to be live on Sky Sports News at 11 a.m. to talk about Manchester United, talk about the transfer window, talk about feelings and what have you. Hopefully it won't be as they were rough. The day after that Grimsby game, they were rough. Hopefully it's not going to be like that. So tune in if you're watching Sky Sports News. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good Tuesday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.